Hi, this is Sally's Book Talk, bringing you the best global books every day. Today we're introducing Zhu Guangquan's History of Western Aesthetics. Mr. Zhu Guangquan is a representative of modern Chinese aesthetics, having made historic contributions to our country's aesthetic development. Many say modern Chinese aesthetics should build upon Zhu Guangquan's work, meaning any discussion in this field must start with his aesthetic theories. As the pioneer in Chinese aesthetics, his History of Western Aesthetics was the first systematic Chinese study of Western aesthetic thought. Since its 1963 publication, this book has been widely used as university textbooks. Top universities like Tsinghua and Peking University recommend it as essential reading for aesthetic education. Before diving into the book, let's address a fundamental question. What is aesthetics? Aesthetics, being a branch of philosophy, deals with questions that seem simple yet profoundly fundamental. Aestheticians constantly explore essential questions like, what is beauty? The most fundamental inquiry in this field. We can also understand aesthetics as the study of artistic thought and theory. Since beauty is often associated with art, this book selects Western philosophy's most representative aesthetic thinkers. Following historical chronology from ancient Greece to the 20th century, it takes us on an aesthetic journey through time. Let's focus on the most crucial landmark in this journey to unpack the book's essence. That is, what is beauty? We can examine how thinkers from different eras answered, what is beauty? These answers can be summarized into three historical phases. The first phase is ancient Greece, where profound discussions about beauty still influence modern thought. The overall characteristic here was rationality. The second phase spans from the Middle Ages to the 17th-18th centuries. During this period, discussions about beauty remain predominantly rational. The third phase in 18th-19th century Germany saw philosophy blending emotional and rational perspectives on beauty. One crucial point to note: what is beauty? What constitutes beauty and what things are beautiful are two distinct questions. Most Western philosophers share this cognitive tendency. They believe there exists a separate entity called beauty that transforms ordinary objects into beautiful ones when applied. This abstract conceptualization differs significantly from traditional Chinese aesthetic perception. Our ancestors experienced beauty through sensory intuition rather than abstract reasoning. Traditional Chinese aesthetics emerge from concrete objects through emotional fusion and unity of subject-object. We never separated beauty from beautiful objects, unlike Western aesthetics, which extracted this concept. So what exactly is beauty? Or more fundamentally, what is the essence of beauty? Ancient Greek philosophers proposed four primary theories about beauty's essence. These theories include beauty as harmony, beauty as utility, beauty as idea, and beauty as organic unity. The Pythagorean school notably advocated the harmony theory, composed mainly of mathematicians and astronomers. They approached nature with scientific methodology, seeking universal principles governing natural phenomena. They identified mathematics as this universal principle. What does this mean? Pythagoreans first studied musical harmony through mathematics, discovering sound variations stem from numerical differences in vibrating objects. For instance, longer strings produce lower pitches through slower vibrations. They found mathematical patterns underlying harmonious music. This mathematical approach was then applied to architecture and sculpture. They established design principles like the golden ratio, dividing the line segment at 0.618. Proportion creates visual harmony. In human sculpture, the navel becomes this golden division point. When the head-to-navel and navel-to ratios both equal 0.618, the figure achieves perfect aesthetic balance. Take the famous Venus de Milo statue we all know. It perfectly embodies the golden ratio principle. This school also applied numerical harmony principles to astronomical studies. They believed celestial bodies, moving in their orbits, created harmonious music of the sphere's cosmic harmony. This represents a primitive scientific worldview, of course. The second Greek perspective emerged later, beauty as utility. Socrates connected beauty with functionality, arguing beauty must serve practical purposes. He considered shields beautiful for defense, spears beautiful for offense. Here Socrates recognized beauty's relativity. A shield's beauty lies in defense, not attack capabilities. An object's beauty depends on its effectiveness. Effectiveness itself varies with user perspective. Thus, beauty resides not in objects themselves, but in human interaction. Socrates' theory marked a paradigm shift in Greek aesthetics. Previously, beauty was analyzed through natural science frameworks. Socrates introduced social science perspectives to aesthetic inquiry. Plato, Socrates' famous student, proposed beauty as ideal form. This first separated beauty from beautiful objects in Western thought. The form of beauty represents one of Plato's eternal ideas. What exactly are these Platonic ideas? Ideas are eternal, unchanging prototypes, the source of physical reality. Though imperceptible, they generate everything we perceive. Plato explains using beds as example. First is the ideal bed form. Second are physical beds, crafted by carpenters according to this ideal. The third type is the painter's bed, an imitation of the carpenter's work. Among these three beds, the ideal bed form serves as the archetype for the others. Only this form is truly real. Carpenter's beds are mere shadows of the ideal form, deemed imperfect by Plato. Painters' beds are even further removed from reality. They're copies of copies, twice removed from true reality. Plato called them copies of copies, shadows of shadows, 3 layers away from truth. This analogy reveals Plato's three-tiered reality, world of forms, physical world, and artistic representation. The world of forms represents perfect, eternal reality that Plato revered above all. True, beauty exists eternally in this realm of forms. It surpasses all physical manifestations of beauty. This essential beauty transforms ordinary objects into beautiful ones when applied. Our sensory experiences of beauty belong to lower realms, accessible only through intellectual abstraction. True beauty remains fundamentally inaccessible to human senses. This is Plato's beauty as form. You might find this concept of forms abstract. Even Plato never fully defined the form of beauty. Why then did Plato elevate forms so highly? Zhu Guangqian suggests this reflects Plato's aristocratic stance. Forms mirror the nobility's elevated status. Like the aristocracy, forms exist beyond common reach. Only philosopher kings could comprehend them. Promoting forms thus reinforced aristocratic dominance. Plato's era saw rising Athenian democracy fueled by commerce. The landed aristocracy clashed with this new commercial class. Thriving commerce empowered democrats, threatening traditional noble rule. Thus, Plato aligned with aristocracy through his theory of forms and concept of the republic. In his ideal state, artists would be expelled while philosophers ruled as kings. Zhu Guangqian's interpretation connects economic foundations, class dynamics, and political thought, typical historical materialism. Aristotle, Plato's greatest student, advanced aesthetic thought further. We'll term his theory beauty as organic unity, for convenience. Understanding Aristotle's pivotal role in philosophical history is crucial. Zhu considers him Europe's aesthetic pioneer for legitimizing art through mimesis theory. How so? We must first address a contradiction in Plato's aesthetics. Plato's form of beauty transcends sensory experience, yet requires earthly beauty as starting point. This paradox, how to ascend from physical beauty to ideal beauty, demanded resolution. Aristotle resolved this by affirming our physical world's reality. He declared, our world authentic, not mere shadow of forms. He further validated art's authenticity. Art captures reality's essence, not just superficial appearances. In modern terms, art reflects, yet transcends reality. This might seem obvious today, but was revolutionary in ancient Greece 2,300 years ago. Aristotle's influence shaped aesthetics for millennia. Our modern respect for artists stems from his elevation of art. Originally applying to epic poetry and drama's imitation of action. His mimesis concept expanded to all art forms. Organic unity emerges when all elements interlock perfectly, nothing superfluous or lacking. Beauty resides within this organic unity. Simply put, successful imitation constitutes beauty. This concept of organic unity extends to human development. Plato advocated absolute rational control, suppressing emotions as base human elements. Aristotle conversely recognized emotions as inherent components of humanity. Greek tragedies purge emotions through catharsis, achieving psychological harmony. Let's summarize ancient Greek aesthetic thought. Though millennia apart, their profound inquiries still influence modern aesthetics. 4 main perspectives emerged: Pythagorean's mathematical harmony theory. Socrates shifted focus to social utility, establishing beauty's relativity through functionality. Plato abstracted beauty as eternal form while disparaging artistic expression. Aristotle rehabilitated art's value through his mimesis theory. He viewed art as perfected reality, imitation achieving organic unity. Medieval Christianity dominated Western thought. Theological dogma constrained philosophical exploration. This era's intellectual history reflects theological monopoly. Only God's voice permitted. Theologians adapted Platonic forms into divine attributes, beauty in God. This became known as the divine beauty concept. And ir. The Renaissance emerged in 14th, 15th centuries. This rebirth liberated humanity from theological constraints, reviving classical culture. Themes in art and literature shifted from religious to secular life. Different from ancient Greece, people now focused more on human sensory experiences. By 17th-18th century, philosophers bypassed what is beauty to explore aesthetic experience. Empiricism became representative of this era. These philosophers equated beauty with pleasure. They believed beauty wasn't inherent, but rather pleasure evoked in observers. This makes intuitive sense. Pleasant things are perceived as beautiful. But how does beauty generate pleasure? The answer lies in human experience. Empiricism concerns the origin of knowledge. This philosophy posits sensory experience as primary knowledge source. Hobbes, empiricism's psychological pioneer, claimed all thought originates from sensation. They shifted aesthetic focus from objects to human perception. Beauty arises from sensory experience and mental association, not object properties. They proposed laws of association for artistic creation. What are these laws of association? Imagination freely combines different sensory inputs. See mountains and gold. We imagine golden mountains through association. Artistic creation requires such associations. More influential was the empathy theory of aesthetics. Formulated in 20th century, this concept is easily understood. We perceive beauty by projecting emotions onto objects. Like poetic lines, I find green hills charming, they find me the same. My joy projects onto hills, anthropomorphizing them as friends. Thus hills seemingly share my happiness. Why this shift to studying aesthetic experience? New modes of thinking drove this philosophical transition. Scientific revolution emphasized empirical observation, exemplified by Newton. Natural science broadened empirical understanding of reality. Take Newton's gravity discovery and Watt's steam engine as examples. These breakthroughs emerged from practical experience and observation. This empirical approach spread to humanities, influencing philosophical discussions. Let's summarize. From medieval times through 18th century, theology dominated aesthetics. Divine beauty theory equated beauty with God's perfection. Post-Renaissance focus shifted to human aesthetic experience, culminating in pleasure-based theories. 18th–19th century German philosophy synthesized empiricism and rationalism. Kant and Hegel became leading figures in this synthesis. They attempted unified theories, addressing both beauty's nature and aesthetic experience. Kant proposed beauty resides in form. Form here contrasts with material existence. In the quenching thirst with imagined plum story, mental form differs from physical reality. Aesthetic appreciation derives from form, not material satisfaction. True appreciation involves disinterested contemplation of form. Aesthetic pleasure differs from physical gratification requiring action. How does Kant's theory unite emotional and rational aspects? Form creates emotional pleasure, sensual aspect. Form aligns with cognitive structures, rational aspect. Hegel defined beauty as sensuous manifestation of idea. Example: courage as idea manifests through heroic acts. True courage must manifest through heroic deeds and demeanor to create concrete imagery. Courage becomes the work's concept. With characters embodying this concept sensuously, you might notice both Hegel and Plato used idea. What's the difference? How do these concepts differ? Plato's ideas transcend sensory reality as eternal truths. Hegel's concept unites rational ideas with sensory manifestations inseparably. Let's summarize Western philosophical discussions on beauty's essence. First phase. Ancient Greece's profound aesthetic discussions still resonate today. These were fundamentally rational approaches. Greek philosophers proposed four main theories: harmony, utility, ideal forms, and organic unity. Second phase. Medieval period to 18th century. This era emphasized sensory experiences in aesthetic understanding. Medieval theology saw God as ultimate beauty. Renaissance shifted to human perception. Empiricism's beauty as pleasure dominated 17th–18th century thought. Third phase. 18th–19th century German synthesis of rationalism and empiricism. Kant's formal beauty, B.S. Hegel's sensuous manifestation of idea. We've now covered history's crucial perspectives on beauty. Zhu Guangqian's work includes other notable aesthetic theories. Chernyshevsky's Beauty is Life theory reflected Russian liberation movements. His realistic approach contrasted with Croce's intuitive aesthetics. Early 20th century's Croce emphasized spiritual intuition in art. He championed subjective human experience and aesthetic judgment. Painter Wu Guansong once said, "Illiteracy is rare today, but aesthetic blindness is widespread." Understanding and contemplating beauty is life's essential lesson. Through today's discussion, I believe you've developed your own perspective on beauty. This concludes our exploration of History of Western Aesthetics. Find keynotes below the audio. Until tomorrow.